All right, you ready?
Yep. Oh, weird.
Yeah, we're back.
Awesome.
That was a good pee.
Yeah, I had one last quick question. Your last film was Bram Stoker's Dracula, Coppola. Apparently, right after that was made, there was a Frankenstein movie with Robert De Niro. I remember seeing part of this. I actually have never seen all of it. The idea of Robert De Niro playing Frankenstein's monster is hilarious to me. And
yeah, you're right.
Anyway, so apparently that one did not do as well. But
yeah, I've heard of it and wanted to check it out, but never seen it.
Yeah, so just wanted to mention that film.
Sure.
De Niro, Frankenstein, what world? So
yeah. What is your seven?
Your seven. Yeah, so number 7 is another new classic, I think, is The Ritual. I'm not sure where this movie came out of. I think I just found it on Netflix one time.
Is it Denmark or Germany or something like that?
Yeah, I never heard about it before. Just saw it when it came out, and absolutely love this movie. About some hikers that go hiking in Sweden. I think I think they're British, from the UK, and they go on vacation in Sweden, and shenanigans happen and scary stuff and get lost.
Damn shenanigans.
Damn shenanigans. But again, one of the reasons I love this is the monster in this is so cool. So I don't know what the technical monster name of this thing is, some creepy like forest thing. But
it's based on something.
I'm not really sure. That's a good question. It reminds me of Windigos, which is another favorite monster of mine. The story of the Windigo is with cannibalism. So there's like hikers in Alaska or whatever, and they get lost. One of them eats the other one, and the guy who eats him turns into a Windigo, and he just is forever cursed to like wander the forest, like starving and perpetual starvation. Just this terrifying, awesome monster. It's kind of a more of an obscure one. I've seen a few cool books about it and different stories, but it's always one I liked. And I think this monster in The Ritual kind of reminds me of the Windigo. A little bit different. I think it's about some like cult aspects in The Ritual, and a different kind of folktale things and stuff. But yeah, awesome movie. One of my other favorite ones that just came out a few years ago. I love to watch Halloween. So
cool. Yeah, I've heard good things about that one. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, great film.
Yeah. This one I moved around the list a bit.
Okay.
It would be the made-for-TV Stephen King's It.
I thought that would have an appearance on here.
It kind of has to, because Tim Curry's Pennywise, nothing scared me more in my life. And I still see that face if I'm not ready for it. It comes up like on my Facebook scrolling, or I'm like, especially if it's like late at night, I'm just like,
that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
No, it gives me the creeps, man. Dude,
totally. There's a few scenes that I always stick in my mind about this movie. The popping blood. That's one's for sure. The one where he comes out of the like curtains or whatever, the clothes hanging.
Yeah, first scene ever, man.
I mean, when he's walking in the picture, those are the 3 that always freak me out, and still I can just picture them so well. And I guess
and he's all walking around and he's in the distance, but then he just stops and points, and then there's like this.
Yeah,
you're like,
And, the other ones too. He's in the library with the balloons, creepy as
Oh
fuck.
man.
And then he like pushes the drain open like all crazy and stop
Yeah.
it. But
I mean, man, every scene scared the shit out of me that had him in it.
yeah.
And I've never told this story before, so I think it's
Okay.
worthwhile. Is my cousin Tammy had told me about this movie and how scary it was. And I was like, it can't be that scary. I watched a bunch of scary stuff with my buddy Steve for a while. Like, I thought I was pretty well conditioned.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's just really scary. But like, she didn't break it down that well as to what it was.
Okay.
So I pictured a whole different movie in my head. She's like, no, it's like this clown, but it's like actually like a spider from outer space. And like, but it's like shows up as a clown sometimes, and it just has balloons and it like pops them and there's blood in them. So I just pictured this clown just holding the balloon, just
yeah.
but there's like like ridiculous spider stuff coming out of its face or something.
Yeah.
Probably something a lot more close to Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay. Yeah.
Just silly. But like, I sat down with Steve. We're like, all right, we're gonna put in part 1. And it's that whole intro, the girl on a tricycle, she's just coming up. And it was like, Mary Lynn, like whatever, this innocent ass name. You better get inside. It's about to rain.
Yeah.
Like, okay, ma'am. Scrolls up, and then you just hear these kids laughing. She looks over, and it's the laundry. And he's like, behind, he's like, hi. That fucking look in the hi, just that draining feeling where like your gut sinks.
Yeah, man.
And you're like, what? Like, what? And then it cuts to her face and then cuts right back. And he's like just has this menacing, ill-intentioned sneer on his face.
So I'm taking it this was before you read the book.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was just like stuck to the TV, but like anticipating it, but also like, I don't want to see that fucker again.
Yeah.
And I had nightmares for like a solid year, terrible sleep, because I had, not only did my bathroom at the time look like the bathroom that Beverly goes to where the blood comes out of the sink, like almost like picture perfect, look just like it. I started to associate the smell of that bathroom with the movie.
Oh, geez.
I also had like a bunk bed that didn't have a bottom bunk. So it's just this empty space. And so, a grown man, perhaps a grown clown, could just stand under there if he wanted, maybe come out from under and see that bald white head just pop up, the fluffy red hair.
Oh, geez.
What are you thinking about, Jacob? And he just like, I started to put on Q92 just to like be able to sleep. Like I'd get distracted by like 90s mom and dad pop music.
Oh man.
Which is probably why I'm such a sucker for that stuff now, because it was like the only thing that would lull me to sleep was like Celine Dion. And
yeah. That's
so then eventually I was, years went by, it still creeped me out, but I wasn't losing sleep and all that. And oh man, this leads to another story and it's worthwhile, so I apologize.
No, go ahead.
I eventually ended up reading the book, and I've read it like 15 times now.
Right. Real quick, I can't associate this this book, this movie, anything about it is Jacob Wayne to me. Like this is so closely synced to you for me. Yeah. I can't help but think about the newer movies, anything about it. I always have to think about you, and I don't know, this is like the Jacob.
I think Wayne. I've done that to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think even with the new one, which more and more I don't like it, I still took any friend that was around to it. It's like I think I saw that thing 5 times in the theater.
And this is like
just because I wanted to really break it down. Like,
this is like a project that you've always if you could direct something or make a movie, it's like this is one, like you have an idea for how you would do it. And
I would want to be good at directing. I would have to get like quite a few films under my belt before
Every
I tackled
project's a
it.
stepping stone to do this.
It wouldn't be the masterpiece or anything, but it's just like I would want to definitely be a professional by the point I did it.
Yeah.
And be like, all right. And now I'm convinced it needs to be like a limited series.
Yeah. I think
It needs to be
so.
like 10, 12 episodes and that's it. And it
Yeah.
does the braided story of the book way better than either movie did. Anyway, quick story.
Oh, yeah, you can tell the story. Sorry. Yeah.
It's fine. We'll lose track if we don't do it now.
Yeah.
So that year I was like really scared of it and like I was having a hard time sleeping. I still had my siblings living at home, at least some of them. And my older sister, she had a boyfriend at the time that was like a very brief one. It wasn't one of her long-term ones. And they were all sitting in our little TV room area watching something. And we had turned our garage into like a TV room, like insulated it and all that. So like there was still kind of some garage stuff in the back to go grab. And I needed like my basketball or something. And I go back. I'm not fucking with her friends or anything. I'm just sneaking in to get my ball and get out. And my sister's boyfriend goes like, we all float down here. Just trying to fuck with me.
Jeez.
And I was like, So I like walk out of the room. I go and get a glass of water and then like come walking back into the thing and walk back there like I'm going to get something else. And I just dump the water on top of his head. And he's just like, what the? And it's just like, yeah. It was
awesome.
Whatever. I know I didn't say fuck you. I was not using that kind of language yet. I was still kind of leaving Mormonism, but I was just like, yeah, that's what you get. You butthead. Like something stupid like that.
That's crazy.
But yeah. So don't
like,
fuck with me.
That blood scene. That's I guess my theme of this episode is the scary stuff of The Usual or whatever. Like Pennywise isn't even really in that scene. The blood just goes and pops and like, yet it's like so fucking scary. Yeah, it's just like, because I guess you could imagine it and your mind plays tricks on you with like, oh, Pennywise could just be standing under my bed right now. It reminds me of Guillermo del Toro wrote these great vampire books called the Strain series, and one of the scariest parts in the whole book, it wasn't even about the vampires, but it was about this like a big cedar chest or whatever, and the guy like would go to sleep at night, and every time at like a certain time of night the cedar chest would open, and then like this dude would just get out and literally stand there and watch him sleep. Like he wouldn't touch him or do anything, but like somehow just standing there and watching you is like more terrifying than like killing you or like doing anything else. Like it's just like unbelievably scary. It always reminds me of that, but just this like being watched, or like, oh, could just be a guy right here just like watching me do,
it's like the torture of your mind.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a certain point, you see it in movies all the time, where it's like, just kill me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'd rather have the physical just end of myself or the pain rather than the madness you're drawing me into.
Like I'd rather be dead than knowing like Pennywise is just sleeping under my bed right now or just sitting there.
Yeah. And that's a facet. I'm not gonna the original made for TV movie, when it's not Pennywise, isn't that great.
Yeah,
it has a charm and I'm definitely biased towards it and can enjoy it, but it's made for TV. But it's every time Tim Curry's on there, you're like, holy shit. And so then the ending, I actually prefer that ending to the new one. The new one fucked up the ending like you wouldn't believe, at least in my opinion. But the made for TV one, the issue is how they present it and their budget and all that stuff. And so it looks ridiculous. It's like a claymation spider thing. And it's like, well, yeah, you're not shooting it right. You're not doing it right. Like that Babadook scene where it's like this dark throbbing thing that you can't quite see. Like that was always like kind of what the spider scene in that and it needs to be, is it's like you get hints of it. Something spidery, something just, but it's in the back because that part of the book is so dark.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's
and
another one I've read about half of the book. I don't know if I've finished all of it, so I need to read that. I need to read Dune. And one of the things about it, I do love it. I love both. I like the new movies. I think they're, okay. And I love the old ones. And I will say though, like knowing how much you like it, I think it makes me like it like 1,000 times more.
Sure.
And it makes me appreciate like the little nuances. And I'm like always like, I wonder what Jake would do if he filmed this. And my project like that is Clockwork Orange, my favorite book. And I like the movie, but it's always one.
It's probably very similar where you're like,
right, where I'm like, oh, this is
watching the movie, you're like, fuck that, fuck this.
So I love that. I love like the dream projects where like this is one I would do, and I would do it this perfect way. And it's always fascinating to hear about that. So I love that you I love it so much. So it's cool.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll move on because it's just that I could endlessly talk about it. But perhaps one time we can do like a movie commentary track or watch the new ones. Because I can respect a fair amount about the first one and enjoy some stuff. I hate the second one.
Yeah, even maybe a chat about just it in general for you, or a Stephen King thing or something.
Definitely.
So number 6 for me, I think that's on me now again, is Crimson Peak, Guillermo del Toro. Really love this one. Kind of similar to what you're saying about Sleepy Hollow earlier. Just the sets, the costumes, everything about this is just awesome to me. The colors. And I really love like the gothic romance stuff. He says it's not even supposed to be scary. They he was kind of mad at some of the marketing for this movie because it put it like horror. He just loves like old gothic romance, Wuthering Heights and Bronte Sisters and all that stuff. But so he was trying to just do a classic gothic or So, but anyway, I just love this movie. I loved how it turned out. I like the ghosts. And then some of the stuff that's scary is like the ghosts are just really cool and terrifying, but then you realize like, oh, the people are the real monsters in this, and I always like that. And anyway, just one of my favorites to watch. I'm so sad that house is not like a place I can go to. He tried to save it. He like tried to buy it. It's just what a mistake that was. That should have been saved, like Hobbiton or something. And
for sure,
you could go stay a night in Crimson Peak or something. But awesome movie. Really liked it, and it's not one of the most like famous Guillermo ones, like Pan's Labyrinth or some of his other films, but one that I always liked, and I feel like made for more adult type arty people like me. So
sure. No, I did enjoy it. I'm not the biggest fan of the gothic romance or anything like that, so it's definitely not in my wheelhouse as far as what I normally watch. But having seen it, I definitely respected it, and Guillermo's always interesting.
Yeah, the house alone is like its character in itself, and like breathes and bleeds, and I feel like you could make a whole nother movie just about the house, and it would be awesome for me to watch. But
we do a House Party 4.
House Party 4.
It's in the Crimson Peak house.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that movie a lot because I really like detective stuff. In terms of my own films and things, crime is probably my biggest genre I love. So I like noir. Yeah, I like I like Crimson Peak because you like kind of go and figure out how the people died and put the pieces together. So I like a lot of that stuff too. And
sure.
Anyway.
Cool. My next one. Okay, sorry. Never mind. My next one is The Witch.
See, I forgot about The Witch. Great movie.
Would that have made your list?
Yeah, absolutely. I freaking love that movie. I really like The Lighthouse, his second movie, but The Witch is another classic, instant classic. That would totally make my top 10 somewhere. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just the studiousness of it all, like the attention to detail and language.
Yeah.
And like I know, so this is what's interesting. With horror, there's been like kind of two schools coming up. Like it's not Saw and Hostel anymore like it used to be. I noticed that it's Conjuring.
Okay.
Anything Conjuring, and it goes off that direction. Conjuring, Insidious, The Nun, whatever. And people are like, oh, this is a new classic. It's so great. And I'm like, I hate those movies.
Yeah. Did you like the first Conjuring at all? Or did you hate that too? Okay.
Didn't hate it, but it's like, I hated that's it. Like, the movie itself is fine, but the fact that people are like, it's a new classic, blah, blah, blah. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is the same old by the numbers, jump scared silliness.
Yeah.
That I've been watching since 2000. Like, what are you talking about?
Just done in a slightly better way.
Yeah, it's a well-made, shitty horror movie. And I mean, yeah, I know. It's like, oh shit, here comes the fanboys, but yeah, but then you got on the other end, you got the Babadook, the Witch, Midsommar, like the A24 stuff, basically.
Yeah, did you ever see It Follows?
I did, and I like that a lot. It's very stylish and creative, but people are like, it wasn't scary. It wasn't scary at all. And it's like, that's not the point, though. It's the concept and the creepiness and how much you think about it.
One of the things that I love about The Witch the most, and I have a habit of printing off screenplays and reading them because I'm a super film nerd, and I have a screenplay of The Witch that's awesome I've read, and I just love the setting and the atmosphere of that. The world building in that is so good. There's a scene at the beginning where they first get kicked out of town, and there's like an indigenous like hunter guy going into town. I kind of like I'm like, that's a whole nother movie. Like, let's follow this guy and see what he's up to. You know, I'm like curious. I'm like, oh, like he just looks so awesome, and the whole setting is like so fascinatingly well done on an indie budget. It just makes you want to like just plop around and go wander around this world. And then I always like, you know, as a film director nerd myself, like when movies are able to be filmed like in one setting, or like, you know, Reservoir Dogs or something where it's filmed really cheaply. Like this was just in the woods in a house, like the whole movie almost just takes place in like one setting. I always like respect that. And just the dialogue in this is, and it goes same with his second movie, The Lighthouse. Like that had incredible dialogue, and the writing was just so well done.
Well, and I mean, it's like, I'm not a film director. It'd be fun to get to that point at someday, but I did study a fair amount of writing in college. Like I was always bouncing around with my major, and writing's always fascinated me. And what always kind of surprised me with some people, like they have these big grandiose ideas, which are fine, but like if you're just starting out and you're like this new director, like find a setting that looks great on camera. But if you could photograph this area and it always looks pretty awesome, try to go to that place and think of a story that can happen in that place. And then like, and just reduction, and like giving yourself parameters to get really creative within. Like that's always what's been cool to me, because I don't know, like say that's kind of why I can't really get into cartoons like I used to. Because they can do whatever they want. They can just like bounce out to space and have like a silly little joke and then bounce right back. And I'm like, it was funny, but what's the limit to your funny? Oh, everything, the universe, like it's not as impressive. Take something like Seinfeld, put these 4 people in a room, and you got to make magic happen, like a show about nothing. You're like, oh, that's impressive to me. So, but to get back to The Witch specifically, is that I went to see that at the theater with my buddy Devin. We were super excited to see it. We loved it. There was couples in the audience that were like laughing and groaning, and they didn't like it at all. And there's a bunch of people leaving like, what the fuck was that? And I remember reading some reviews after, and what it was just so sad to me is that they were like, I didn't even really see a witch. Like, what the hell? Like, they wanted to go to it and have the nun, the creepy, like, but it's like an old-timey setting and they just wanted startle and jump scare, and it's like, no, like it's 10 times better because like you were saying, it's like, well, who's that guy, like, and the world building and the psychology of every single member of the family, and
you're like looking at this goat and
weird sexual subtext.
Is this goat actually evil? And then like her like twin sister, brother and sister, just like fucking terrifying. And
and oh no, the ending is a little vague and metaphorical. Whatever shall we do? I
love the ending.
It's great.
My kind of take on it is, you know, she was never a witch, but then it's just like, kind of like the Scarlet Letter stuff. It's like society just wanted her to be this thing, and she's finally like at the end, she's like, "Fuck it, I'll do it." You know?
Well, yeah, it's pure metaphor. Just like, no, it's society, patriarchal society, basically holding her down. All the expectations and bullshit from her family, and she had to kind of like kill off her family and go join all the witches, and was like, "Fuck you. I'm gonna go live deliciously."
Yeah, it was filmed so well done. There's kind of back to that movie that was on my honorable mentions, Haxan. If you like The Witch this much, you will love Haxan. It's kind of like the 1920s The Witch, and it's all about just this kind of cool stuff. And I would love to do a double feature of these two movies at some point. Just really fascinating.
I'm gonna eat your baby, see?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like one of the terrifying scenes where she's like doing the peekaboo and then the baby's just gone. You're like, holy fuck. Like,
and just like awesome. The weird, ill-lit like baby on the altar thing or something. Just like,
it's great. I love this movie. And one other movie, I like what you said about the constraints of artists, like trying to find limits and push yourself creatively. There's another great movie I like called A Field in England. It's just like this trippy, like crazy, like
I remember that. I need to give that another shot because it wasn't clicking for me.
Everyone hated it except for me. I showed all my friends and they're like, fuck this movie. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is awesome.
I'll give it one more try.
Yeah, it's just like anyway, but it was just like these guys wandering around a field in England, and a psychedelic trip of kind of like medieval times. And I just love the setting. I like the characters and the writing, and very similar, lots of similarities to The Witch, I think, for me. But
well, and I will say this, I feel like I always have to read it. Not that I have to, but I should.
Yeah.
Even if I don't like a movie, like if I hated it, I still respect it.
Yeah.
There's only a certain type of film that can be so cynically made, and it probably is that like hyper commercialized stuff that I'm like, I hate this and I hate why they made it. But for the most part, like I respect Marvel movies. I respect the shitty little comedy thing. You know what? Like, because it takes so many people to make a movie.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost a fucking miracle when movies become like these masterpieces. It's like the perfect storm. Everybody was on point.
Yeah.
And the amount of work. So as a painter and a musician, it's just you rub up against
totally. Yeah.
Oh, that's how much work it takes to do this. So then when you look at a movie, you're like, oh my God, like you have to worry about whether the catering's fucking up, like making your actors sick, or like
totally. Yeah. Like if you think about it, it's like a screenplay to me is just as hard as like writing a book. And then it's like when you write the book, you publish it, you're done. When you finish a screenplay, that you're ready to go do all the rest. And it's wild to think about. But as like people that are really into film, and whether you're like want to be in film or just really love film, I think it's a great idea to look at movies both subjectively and objectively, and be like, what do I like and why do I like these things versus I don't really like this movie, but what's objectively cool about it, and why do other people like this? And there's kind of those two different things. We mentioned Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
I do love that movie. It's not one of my subjectively favorite movies, but objectively, I understand why everyone else loves it and why it's like awesome. And I think that's really good way to like you come at it from both sides, and it like really helps you like understand what the audience is thinking, what other people are thinking, and then why you like certain things too. So I usually try to do that. And I have to rewatch movies. Like it's just so much, like you can't catch everything in one sitting. It's just impossible to, especially if the movie's really good and you're really enjoying it, because then you're like, you're not really like paying attention all the time. You're just having fun. And it takes a lot sometimes to like come back and study these movies. And anyway, always a good time. But
it's true.
um,
Now, time is starting to be a little bit of the essence, because
sure,
I have a band practice coming up.
we can speed this up a little bit.
So let's see, where are we
So
at?
we're
now into our 5s.
Yeah, we can go back faster.
I think with our first beginning of our lists, we've really established what we look for. So
okay,
we'll just get into what we love about these top 5s for both of us.
Yeah, sounds good. So number 5 for me is What We Do in the Shadows. Another favorite classic. There's a new TV show series.
I almost fucking forgot that was a movie first.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. It wouldn't have made my top 10, but it's awesome.
So I got to shout out Sundance 2014. I saw What We Do in the Shadows and the Babadook like 3 times each at that festival, and those are both on here. I love that movie. Again, shout out to theaters too. Seeing these movies in theaters for the first time with audiences that were really excited to be at Sundance or wherever at the theater, it really changes the viewing of it, and it was such a fun experience. Kind of the opposite of the Babadook. Everyone was laughing so hard in this movie, and the jokes just really landed, and it was so funny and new and like interesting. And it kind of came right after all that Twilight bullshit, where it goes back to honoring the classics of Nosferatu and Dracula and all these awesome stories. It's just such a well done thing, and I love that it kind of kicked off Taika's career here. He's gone on to do Thor and Jojo Rabbit and all this stuff. So I love this movie. I've probably seen it like 30 times. I just show it to so many people for the first time that year, and who all loved it. I'm glad the TV show's doing well. Absolutely love this movie. So funny.
I need to see that again. All I'll say real quick is just that there's certain films, like certain genres, Halloween type movies being one of them, that are way better in the theater. Comedy, way better in the theater. But that's what I like about now, and I hope that the balance can be found, is Scorsese's The Irishman. I don't want to go to a theater for that. I like that it's like 4 hours and I get to sit at home and kind of ponder it. War movies, unless it's like really got like some crazy you feel like you're there moments.
I did see Dunkirk at the theater. That was insane.
Well, that would be good, but perhaps The Finest Hour, or Darkest Hour, that maybe I want to watch at home.
Sure,
and the balance is good. But like horror and comedy, like more than anything,
this movie
great to see, and especially if they suck. It's almost like better to see them at the theater.
There's just a great time making jokes.
Then people are just like, oh my god.
See, that's another thing too, is like, with rewatchability of movies, sometimes you need to go to the theater and just riff it with the homies and just have a great time and not even pay attention to the movie. And then you go back and watch it again and see. And
then realize you loved it and cry.
You're like, oh, I misunderstood this. But my last point about What We Do in the Shadows is the jokes are so clever and well written. I gotta make a special point about that, like with them eating the food. It's like all these little things you never thought about vampires, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess they can't eat popcorn. Like, what would happen if they eat some popcorn and there's vomiting blood hilariously, I like, again, the Nosferatu stuff with Peter, and then all that great stuff with the swearwolf battle, and anyway, I think it's really cool, and especially for comedy, when they like really take the time to analyze all these things, and like, I ask questions that no one ever thought about of vampires or whatever that is they're doing. So
sure,
love how it turned out. And anyway,
well, my number 5 was the Babadook. So
okay, great.
Back to you. What's your number 4?
Chat about that. One last thing about the Babadook. I'd love to get the book of the Babadook. I guess you can buy it. So anyway, I need to buy that. So number 4 for me was Dracula, Coppola. So
okay.
And
all right. My number 4 is Poltergeist.
Okay.
I mean, it's a pretty well-known movie.
Yeah.
That's another one where the house is almost like its own character.
Did Spielberg direct that one, or did he?
No, I think he might
it?
have been set up to be the director, but then
Okay.
he couldn't. He ended up being a producer. And I think it was Tobe Hooper
Okay.
that did like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Don't quote me on that. Could be wrong, but
Nope.
pretty sure it's
you're
Tobe
right.
Hooper. And
Yep.
the family, like this is an instance of where creating a good family dynamic and taking a slow build approach to making sure you know all your characters and how they relate to each other, and you learn to like them, so when stuff starts happening to them you give a shit. The remake they did had like Sam Rockwell, who I love, but like it's terrible because
they did a remake.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't, because it was garbage.
Okay.
But like, and then that's one where I'm like, fuck you.
It's like ancient burial grounds, right? It's like haunted.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I like that.
They can't. Yeah, that remake was the epitome of like, I'm not saying you can't remake this, but you better do something interesting with it.
Yeah.
And they didn't. Let's just take out anything that was interesting of the old one and just repackage it. And it's the same problem with Pet Sematary and that remake. And anyway, the old Poltergeist, I mean, clown, that's one of the scariest scenes ever to me, is that clown under the bed. The tree, it's just a creepy, spooky tree watching him through the window.
Yeah.
It's and then what's the term I'm looking for? Like the lady who communicates with the dead.
Oh, the medium, or
spiritual medium or whatever. Like when she shows up and she's like, "This house has experienced a lot of pain." It's just like, what a weird, interesting character.
I'm looking at the poster for the remake. It looks so terrible.
Yeah,
it's like a weird clown thing on you.
Yeah, well, because that's all they did. That scene is awesome in the original.
Yeah.
So let's market the whole thing around that one brief little awesome scene in the original.
That's so dumb. That's crazy.
But yeah, it's just great. It's a classic.
Yeah, I need to watch it.
It does have Spielberg vibes, and I think that's why a lot of people think it was the Spielberg, is because he's always been so good with creating the family dynamic and
I'm looking
directing
at it right
kids
now here too,
and
it says Spielberg produced it and he wrote the screenplay. So
okay.
So I guess he was pretty involved.
Yeah,
it might have been a project he was hoping to direct and then maybe stepped out and Tobe Hooper came in.
And it does have one of my favorite endings. You think it's done, but then the house comes back for one last trying to keep you here and steal your soul or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they get out of there and the house crumples in on itself. I remember seeing that for the first time and I saw that in Simpsons. But they go to a hotel room, walk into it all tired, and then just 10, 15 seconds later, they shove the TV out of the room. They're like, fuck this. Fuck TVs. I need to sleep.
As a kid of the 90s, it's hilarious how many things you would see in The Simpsons, pop culture references, and then you'd see it and oh, okay, that's where it's from originally. One thing I want to say about this, I need to watch this again. I probably haven't seen it since high school.
Yeah.
Watching it then. I do like it. I love the burial ground stuff. I'm very skeptic in real life. Don't really believe in ghosts and all that stuff. But on the flip side, I love to read about ghost stories, and I'm kind of wish they were real, because I just think it's cool, and I like to read these different stories and stuff. So I like that a lot, and anyway, I like the idea of nowadays too, you talk about a lot with social justice and all these great things for communities of color and stuff. I like the idea of Native American cultures just coming back and fucking up stuff.
Oh yeah, it's a great trope.
So yeah,
the white patriarchy needs it.
Yeah. All right, so I think we're back to my number 3. Another Dracula. So this is the original Dracula, but it's a very specific one. It's the original Dracula with Philip Glass's score. He wrote to it in I think he wrote it in the 90s, but it's just awesome. And I love that he just went and wrote a score, and it completely changes how like the movie is viewed and how it feels and stuff. The music just adds a whole nother element to it. And I absolutely love this soundtrack, Philip Glass Dracula. Probably one of my favorite scores of all time. I love watching this one with the music. And
did it used to be a silent film then? Or?
Yeah. So you go watch the original. I think it might have had some music at parts, but like he wrote the whole soundtrack for like most of the stuff. So it's just really cool because like before Dracula, Bela Lugosi comes down the stairs and it has a certain feel. But then with his score, it's just like way more terrifying and awesome and creepy. This is a movie I'd love to play at the Pantages every year with like a quartet, and just awesome stuff. And I like it, obviously it's just really fucking cool. And I love Philip Glass and the music and everything. But I think it's really cool from a film, again, education, film buff type of thing. But just like how important music is to a movie and how just like changing the score is like a whole different movie, even though all the footage is the same, everything's the same, just with a different song that's like a better place or different music here and there completely changes the feeling of that film. I think that's really cool. And stuff that people don't always think about in terms of music.
No, that's super important. Like your score, soundtrack also can make or break your movie.
Yeah. We had our Pantages Street Theater just this last weekend where we show movies every Saturday and stuff. And we just show a lot of stuff in the public domain because it's free and we don't have to get the rights or anything. But this one we just did the other day was The Man from Utah, old Western movie, one of the first John Wayne movies. I think it was 1934. He was only like 27. But it was funny because the movie started and there was like no music and it was just so glaring. We're like, wow, this is such a quiet movie. They didn't invent putting music to movies until the 40s, but
sure.
But it just was a really weird experience, and just fascinating to see how different movies are made now. And I know we really like Chris Nolan a lot, and apparently he likes to have music throughout the whole movie. And when it's done in the right ways, it's so subtle, like you don't even notice the music's there. Sure. And then you take it out and it's just, gone. And it's just really weird. It's like, oh, this feels weird for some reason. So anyway, this is a cool example of that. Great Halloween movie, classic Dracula, awesome, great score. Cool. So
my number 3 is Hereditary.
Okay, great.
Filmed in Utah. Definitely has a little bit of a Utah vibe in it. I think the acting is great in this movie. It's usually the whole possession devil stuff doesn't work with me because I don't believe in that shit, but just the cultiness, which goes well with Utah, is really effective, and it made me think about stuff growing up, and it like creeped me out. And some people say the ending isn't as great, but I kind of like how weird and surreal, dreamlike it gets. And it's not as simple as just he's the devil. It's like Paimon and like this whole weird thing, and like your riches, and I don't know, it's really unique. He was another one of those directors where as soon as I saw that, I was like, holy shit, this is really good. I'm gonna pay attention to anything he does after.
I feel bad about this. I still haven't seen Midsommar. It's been on my list. It's just need to catch that. But this is one
that one's more weird. And like it's fun because it's weird, and it definitely has a lot of skilled filmmaking to it and fun ideas, but it's not as succinct and powerful as Hereditary was for me.
This might be the movie that we maybe disagree the most on. I've only seen this, I think maybe even one time, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'll definitely watch it again. And I know like a lot of people love this one. I know Scorsese was talking about how much he loved this. I did like it. There's parts where like, you know, the decapitation scene, I think everyone was not ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really think about that part when I think about it.
Yeah, and
but that was definitely like the big like takeaway for a lot of people.
For me, and I need to go back and watch it now that I know where everything was going. But I really love the ending. To me, that like I'm like, why didn't you start the movie here? Like this is now really fascinating to me. Like with the stuff at the ending where he's kind of ordained or whatever you want to say, like be doing this stuff. And I'm like, oh cool. Like I kind of wanted to see the sequel of that. When I got to the end, I was like, oh cool. Like now I want to watch this. And then they ended it. So
that's kind of why it was perfect to me though.
Yeah,
because it was like such a slow build. Like, is it just the mom going crazy? Is it this little girl thing? Like,
I love the miniature house.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love how it's filmed. The acting's great. I'll definitely need to watch this one again. I imagine I'll like it a bit better. But
like when she like wakes up in the attic and there's all those like naked Mormons standing around.
Yeah.
I know they're not Mormons, but they look like pioneer Mormons. Like, ugh. It's just so creepy.
Yeah.
I do give it another watch.
Yeah, I do appreciate the filmmaking of it, and I do like a lot of aspects of it. But yeah, that's one I need to watch again. So wasn't a huge fan the first time around. I think it's just because a lot of these times, we were talking about this with some of these scary movies, the marketing is just so off what you're like expecting. So I think I saw some of the marketing for that. I was expecting this specific type of thing, and it just really was like, not what I was expecting. And so yeah, I need to watch this one again to appreciate it more.
We need to speed up a little bit, but I was gonna say real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was reading something about how somebody was breaking down how they will do those misleading trailers on purpose sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because they know that they'll get a certain amount of people to come in, and it's like all how many people are you going to piss off by inaccurately.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Putting out a trailer to get a certain amount of people. It's like, this is only going to piss off about 15% of them that you kind of sort of,
don't care about it.
Miscommunicated what it was. And I was like, man, that's super shrewd and cynical, but I guess that makes sense. They're trying to make money.
I never thought about it. That's a good point. I'll have to look into that. Number 2 for me is the Halloween Tree, Ray Bradbury story.
The Halloween Dream?
The Halloween Tree.
Oh, I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's an old cartoon type movie. It's like kind of a family classic. My mom showed it to us when we were kids. We used to go to Smith's and get the movies at the store there.
Yeah.
Back on VHS.
I remember that.
It just became a classic one. So we'd always watch this. I think it was on TV sometimes. Narrated by Leonard Nimoy. Based on, there's a Ray Bradbury story about it. And basically, like a kid is dying, and actually, I think he dies. So it's like he dies on Halloween. And his friends like try to go find his ghost, and it has stuff about Day of the Dead, other cultures and stuff with Halloween. Really awesome. And as a kid, it was like the coolest fucking movie ever, just because Halloween movie with them just like flying around the world. They go talk about witches and all kinds of stuff. But love Ray Bradbury, Leonard Nimoy. Great movie. Just really a family tradition that we always watch. So
nice. Yeah, that's good that you actually, because I think the holiday maybe does need to be appreciated. Like, no, it's fun with the family to do Halloween too. It's not all about scary stuff.
Yeah. If I don't mention this, my family would kill me. So,
fair enough. My number 2 is Ghostbusters. I mean,
great flick. I didn't think about that until we started talking.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you're talking about Poltergeist, and it reminded me of, I think in Ghostbusters 2, one of the scariest things I remember as a kid was like the judge, he like sent those 2 ghosts to the electric chair. And the ghosts like come back and like mess with him. That scared the shit out of me as a kid. I think I was terrified of like serial killers and murderers and stuff. And those 2 ghosts specifically like were the one of the scariest things
Yeah.
I remember. But anyway, great movie.
I mean, we don't gotta go over that one too much. I mean, a lot of people have talked about it, but it's just like it's one of those movies that shouldn't work. That's like a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's like what? There's just these like cynical New York professors that are actually like kind of just like, yeah, we're blue collar businessmen though, and we captured ghosts. Hey, like just like all right, but nah. Of course, it's Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis. Why can't I think of his name?
Yeah.
It's gonna bug me.
Here, I'll see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver. Rick Moranis.
Yeah, Rick Moranis. That's what I was gonna say.
That's not who I was thinking. I was thinking
yeah, you're thinking the other guy. No, you're thinking
fourth Ghostbuster. My bad.
Ernie Hudson.
Jesus. Yeah, there you go. But the fact that it can get to a point where it's the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, holy shit, it's giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
It's a classic on every level.
Zool, there is no Dana, only Zool. Are you the key man? Are you the gatekeeper? I'm the key master.
What's funny is I think I actually saw Ghostbusters 2 first because like I don't know, I was at my friends and they just popped it in and it was awesome. So parts of me I always think of Ghostbusters 1 and I'm like, oh wait, that was in Ghostbusters 2. Like I think those two ghosts and some of the other stuff, that painting is all Ghostbusters 2. But
if I could put them on as like a double feature and just put them at number 2, I would. Like a lot of people say, oh, number 2 is not good. First one was great.
Yeah,
I love the second one. Vigo, the weird pink goo under the city.
I think I almost like it more. This is probably because I saw it first, but I just mix them together. But one thing is, I guess there's this new Ghostbusters coming out. I've heard good things about it. Excited. I'm glad that they're in it. You know, the original.
I am very cynical about any Ghostbuster stuff.
That's why I didn't
especially after the last one.
Yeah, I didn't want to hype it up. I liked the trailer. I thought it was cool. I'm excited to see it. Sure. And then I have heard some early reviews saying it's pretty good. I'm not going to.
And I have to reiterate, I don't care if you make female Ghostbusters. That's not why I hated that.
Yeah.
I hated it because it was a completely pointless.
Yeah.
Like. It's just a terrible fucking movie. I hate that movie.
Speaking of the full female angle of these real quick, recently they asked, there's a new James Bond movie out and they asked Daniel Craig like, oh, who should be the female James Bond or whatever? Do you think there should be one? And he said, no. We had a great response for it. He said, there shouldn't be one. He's like, just go write a better character for a woman to go make. Why does it have to be James Bond? Just go make someone cooler than James Bond, better characters specifically for someone. And I thought that was a great answer because I mean, James Bond's not the pinnacle of characters. He's something, you know, these characters that are, you know, for men, or these stories are for men, you know, they could just go probably make a movie that could be just as cool as Ghostbusters, different, something else that doesn't have to be anything to do with this, you know.
Sure.
So anyway, interesting points that I think is good to think about. So my number 1 film, Shining, obviously.
That's your number 1?
Yeah.
It's my number 1 too.
I think it's pretty obvious choice for a good reason. I think. I
mean, like what is there to be said about The Shining?
Yeah, greatest scary movie of all time. I think it's hilarious that Stephen King hates it so much. He's totally wrong because it's awesome.
Well, did you see the one he made?
Oh, I did not.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So it's like, keep writing your books, Stephen.
Yeah. I just think it's so funny because he's like pissed off at Kubrick. Even to this day, he's mad at Kubrick, who's been dead for 20 years. And I think that's just awesome. But
here's an interesting thing. Was the author of Clockwork Orange alive when that came out?
Yeah, he was. So
what did he think of the movie?
So at first he liked it, but then he was working with Kubrick, but then he didn't like some of the changes Kubrick made. And I don't either. That's why Clockwork Orange is my favorite book. Real fast on the Clockwork Orange. So in the book, he kills someone with the Beethoven statue, and he loves Beethoven. So like, there's this whole metaphor, like he's killing someone with the most beautiful thing, like that he in the whole world to him. So like beauty being a tool of violence. That's kind of the thing. But in the Kubrick put all this weird sex stuff and 60s things in there. It's still cool or whatever, but it kind of misses a lot of the points of the book. He just kills someone with a giant penis, which has its own, metaphors for that. But
well, I'll hop in right there with that, because there was somebody on, I think it was maybe the Stanley Kubrick Reddit or something like that. I came across it, and it was I don't know if it counts as a criticism as much as an observation.
Yeah.
But it was like, Stanley Kubrick wouldn't have ever made a film if he didn't have a book to make it from first. And I was like thinking about it, but there was a whole discussion underneath it. And it's just like all his best work was other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And that what he would do is and maybe that's not true for all his films and stuff, but he would take this material and then he would dive into it and dissect it. And like attach it to his views of society and sexuality and the family, the concepts of the nuclear family, or just even humanity. That's why he would call up Stephen King, over the phone. It's like, do you believe in God? And like Stephen King's like, what? And he's just like, he's just analyzing and putting it all together. So then by the time he's done turning your book into Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, it's a different thing.
Totally. I think I can understand why authors are mad at him, and I'll say something about that real fast, and then but to go back to the Anthony Burgess question, the author of Clockwork Orange, he also missed the ending of the Clockwork Orange. And the whole point of the book is like the state can't change you, like Alex is one of the most despicable characters in all of literature, but even him, the state can't change him. And at the end of the book, he realizes like, oh, all this violence is just a kid's thing, and I grew out of it. But so he changes on his own. That's all like cut out of the movie. But Anthony Burgess, he did a play of the Clockwork Orange down the road before he died later on. And there was a character that looked exactly like Kubrick that like Alex beats up to death. So specifically to, for Kubrick. So I thought that's hilarious. But
that is funny.
Back to the Kubrick thing. I think that's a really cool point. Kubrick's one of my favorite directors. Actually, fun fact, I have the same birthday as Kubrick. So I was thought that was cool. So,
I share one with Tori Amos, and the lead singer of Alice in Chains.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, I think we mentioned Kate Beckinsale earlier. She has the same birthday as us. But I like what you said that, because I do think like Kubrick is so special because he did take these weird properties or whatever books, and he like found a way to like wring them out and like have weird stuff fall out that like no one else would like pull this stuff out of there. There's this whole cool like videos on The Shining about where like people are like, oh, they think it's like about the gold reserve, and Kubrick put all this secret stuff
it was that whole movie, Room 230, or whatever the room is, and
37.
It was a really fascinating watch. Like I like that. Like obviously some people are like, okay, like there's a lot of shit in that movie where you're like, oh, he clearly did that on purpose. What he means by it is up in the air, but
there's like
might just be weird, fun little movie. Like, hey, if somebody's paying attention, I moved that thing, and symbolism for the sake of symbolism.
Have furniture move around. There's all this stuff about indigenous stuff in there. And which is really cool. And then just I don't know, just the fact that you can just like, this movie is like 50 years old and people are still talking about it. And dissecting it is just so cool, and finding new things about it and the way he filmed it. I think one of the negative things about it, I do think very abusive to Shelley Duvall. It isn't a great thing, but just, sorry, Shelley Duvall. We like
Shelley.
But yeah, it really, really interesting. Back to the other part of the Kubrick thing, I do think he has like a Napoleon script, and then Barry Lyndon. There was some things he wrote, like Eyes Wide Shut. I think he did have some of his own stuff, but it is fascinating too to see. These are like real. These are very famous properties at the time. The Shining, 2001. What's the other one?
Clockwork Orange, Barry
Clockwork Orange.
Lyndon.
Yeah. Really famous books at the time, and then
Doctor Strangelove.
just
I think
take
that's
them
original, isn't it?
take them and do something completely different. It makes sense why the artists or the authors are so pissed off.
But that's also what's kind of great about Stanley Kubrick is he'll read The Shining and pick it apart so much and be like, oh, I don't agree with what this is even trying to say, but I like the material and I like the world, so I'm going to have it be the exact opposite. This isn't a haunted motel. Maybe it's the mind of Jack Torrance, which is representative of the white male patriarchy in the United States. And all the things it's been responsible for and the trauma.
And just like the attention to detail is so insane. Like, you know, they like zoom in on his Jack's tie at the beginning. It's like the same maze as like, you know, maze at the end, and just really incredible to me. Kubrick's, you know, greatest director of all time. And
interesting, I put him character
besides like Kurosawa and some of the other people. But
I don't know where, but he's in my top 5 easily.
Yeah,
maybe even top 3.
I think movies would be very different and boring if without him.
Yeah,
so,
man.
And then back to, you know, the Halloween thing. Just a really terrifying movie. That bathroom scene, you know, and
this gets back into the whole mystery thing.
Yeah.
As Jim Norton, I think, put it once on O&A, is like the fat little bunny pig man blowing the dude in the tuxedo. Like, what's going on? And you just like, but it does that crazy zoom into him, like, you're just like, what? Like that. I think about that scene all the time. I'll be like walking into Whole Foods getting like, I need some cilantro, and I'm just like, fat little bunny pig man blowing the guy in a tuxedo. Like, and I still don't know. Like, I know from the book what that was, but like Stanley Kubrick changed it just a little bit and did some different stuff, and you're like, man, like, it's just the music. We've talked about music a lot. Like the score, the sounds.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's incredibly creepy. Just from the very beginning, just riding on that road.
Yeah. I think one of the things I like about, you know, obviously this is a ghost story. But one of the things I love about ghosts so much is like, you know, you'll be going along and then you find out these ghosts and then like, oh wow, these are some more characters. And then kind of back to what you said, uncertainty, you're like, you want to know the stories of them just naturally, like, oh, how did they get here? Like, what are they doing? Like, how did this guy die? Like, who killed this? And then you find out, you know, like the 2 girls is dead. And then he's talking to the guy later, the caretaker, and you're like, oh, he killed the girls.
They needed to be corrected.
Yeah, it's just like, holy shit, you know, and it's just like all this, like, it's like almost like a weird, terrifying Harry Potter where there's like, oh, this is a whole secret world behind this with all these ghosts, and like, you know, there's thousands of people at this party and like they all fucking killed, or like all these, I don't know. It's just, it's like a spider web of like more storytelling, and you're like, you want to know like all the details, at least I do.
Well, and you might disagree with me here. I like that. And I do wonder about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? But I like to keep it in my head.
Sure.
Or in conversation with friends. I don't need them to make a movie out of that.
No, totally.
Like, I just like the conversation that spurs off, or even your own mental conversation of like,
and
what was that about? Like,
and going back to Kubrick, that's another thing that's so great. He never talked about his movies. He never told anyone like, oh, this was this and this was this. This is what it meant. He just left it all ambiguous. And I think that's a real power to that. I think that's why people are still talking about it, because they don't know. It's all just like, you know, people can have their own versions of it.
And I have to say, like, that movie they made about everybody's conspiracy theories, like, I find it hilarious how many people I've talked to and people in that movie and everything are just like, well, it had to mean something. It's like, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he doesn't tell you what it is, but he knows that I put the Native American's head on the can behind me, and then it cuts and it comes back and it's gone.
Yeah.
That's going to make you think that means something. And the whole conversation that starts in your head, whether I did mean something by it or not, I could have just been Stanley Kubrick looking at the shot after shooting it for the 1000th time and like, oh, yeah, just take that out.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I like
and then like, that's not everything is interconnected in Illuminati, blah, 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 blah. It's just
totally.
That's what makes it.
What's great about that is like
mind.
You have all ranges of ideas there. It's like, oh, the furniture and stuff was moving. Oh, just maybe because the ghosts were moving it around or something. Or it could be Illuminati stuff. But then what you said too is like people don't realize like Kubrick had like just a savage like wit and like humor about him. Yeah. There's all these stories about on Dr. Strangelove, they just had to keep doing takes because Kubrick was laughing too hard, and like just the humor behind this. He was always a pretty funny person and had a very like specific brand of humor. So I think the idea that he just like, oh, I'm going to put this in to fuck with them and like just hilarious to me or whatever. I think that's totally true too. But
there's one story with him, I can't remember what, but somebody's like paraphrasing. Somebody says like, well, you can't cut shit or like something like that, and he's just like, you can if you freeze it. He's just like, he already had like a solution to this dude's little thing. But I was just gonna say, with like the having meaning and all that symbolism and metaphor, or the things that don't make sense, so that must mean something. Like, I remember researching serial killers a lot in high school because it was just fascinating, and I took a really great sociology class that was like breaking down John Wayne Gacy and Charles Manson, and obviously they're two very different types if you know the history of them, but which was what was so fascinating, like what is the difference? And I remember I read a book by a profiler that I guess a lot of her theories have been really debunked by now, like about why serial killers are or how, and that's a whole other thing. But when I read the book, they were talking about John Wayne Gacy's paintings and how it was either, no, it's like, the way where a character in his painting was standing, the shadow was in the wrong place. And they tried to analyze it and break it down. Like, well, is that part of his psychology? And I was just like, no, maybe he's just a shitty artist, like didn't know. But like it always stuck out to me. So when I started doing paintings, like I do things like put the thumb on the wrong end of the hand or put shadows where they're not supposed to go, just because I was like, I hope one person comes across this painting and is like, wait, what? The thumb's on the wrong, what's he trying to say about thumbs? And I'm like, it's just to get you to do that. No, I like that a lot too. And I just like the whole gamut. I think that's there's no answers, you know, like a film is right for whatever you want it to be. That's what the point is. Like, you know, you could make a film as a director, or writer, whatever that you want it to be, and the audience could go watch it. And you guys are both right. Everyone's right. You know, there's no wait a minute
answer. So.
I can't believe it right here at the end. Shining isn't my favorite Halloween scary movie.
Really?
It's the fake moon landing that Stanley Kubrick filmed.
Well,
it's so terrifying. And
but yeah, I like that. I just thought of like while you're talking a second ago and making great points is I do want to shout out two other honorable mentions that are TV shows. I love
It's gotta be quick, bro.
It'll be quick. I love Mindhunter. It's a great Halloween show.
Wonderful.
And what you were just talking about, where it's like everyone had trouble catching these guys before these guys came along because they're like, oh, they're all evil. You know, they're just evil. And it's like, no, they have, you know, other things doing. But and then Treehouse of Horrors. I gotta, you know, I think that's a special place for the Halloween,
me too.
Treehouse of Horror stuff. I always love that. But anyway.
South Park episodes are really great too. The Halloween episodes. I
didn't even think about TV stuff, but
weren't you just saying Simpsons?
Yeah, I mean before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of great Halloween episodes of stuff, but as far as I know, South Park and Simpsons really would hit it.
Yeah.
really consistently. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to wrap up, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, part of what we've come to the conclusion of this is we could do a whole other top 10 of like scary movies or horror movies.
Totally. Yeah.
And probably it's sounding like you and I, it would be a lot of like gangster flicks and Silence of the Lambs and like, look at how fucked up this human being is.
Well, half of my list would be movies from my childhood that I've never gotten over, that I've just been traumatized from. There's like freaking you know, just stupid stuff like Brave Little Toaster when that fucking thing.
Yeah, that was upsetting.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
yeah,
I loved
so
your list, man, and that's
thanks.
why I like having you on. You're able to pontificate on the films.
Yeah, what's cool about the scary list is I think maybe like there'd only be like one movie or two that stays on here, and I think most would be different.
Shining stays on for me. It stays on. If it's just stuff that scared me.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. Is it 2 Stephen King things?
Yeah, I think The Shining, The Ritual, Bone Tomahawk, and maybe The Babadook. There's parts of it, but when I first watched it, but
yeah, I love everything in the Babadook too much. It doesn't give me like fear. It's like, yes, cool design.
You know, with people that like horror stuff and scary stuff and Halloween, we used to try to go to cemeteries for Halloween and try to scare ourselves and stuff.
Sure.
It comes to a point where it's like eating hot stuff. It gets harder, like your palate goes up and it gets harder to scare yourself. I once
it's like comedy, man. It's like, that was hilarious.
As a kid, one last anecdote, I worked in a haunted house growing up, and I was the chainsaw guy, and I had some other jobs. It was fun. So after a while, you know, I would go to a haunted house years later, and it was really fun. But I knew all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I bet there's someone right there. I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if someone jumped out, and then they jumped out, and I just like, it wasn't scary because I could just tell where everything was going to be. But I still love it. But yeah, I want stuff to scare me, so it's a good time.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of happens. People that scare easily, like pretty much the startle movies and the general fare. People that are like, no, I've already had that. That got me a while ago. I need something deeper, psychological, something that'll sit with me.
Yeah, and this.
I was always like that. It's like, I had a girlfriend that like one time we were walking around. It was in the fall. It's a great, lovely memory of mine.
Yeah.
But she like leaned into me. She's like, let's sneak into the cemetery. And you're like, you know.
Yeah.
Don't you think that'd be great? And I was like, no. It's like, sounds disrespectful, young lady.
Disrespectful.
Just like, and it's funny because now I'd be like, yeah, sure, spit on me after.
That almost sounds
like just at the time, I was like, let's go home where it's nice and warm and clean.
Spit on me now.
Yeah, well. Anyway, that's a good way to end the episode. This was a great episode. We will do more episodes in the future. I hate to try to rush the end here, but I do got to get ready.
A few more hours, I imagine. But yeah, great time. Loved your list as well. A lot of surprising things that I forgot to add, and classics. All these movies are awesome. Even the honorable mentions. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these movies. And there's probably 100 more we could add. But great category. Love this month. Love October. Anyone listening, thanks for tuning in this long, and go check out some.
I might split it up into 2 parts.
Yeah,
I'm debating it. I don't know. We'll see.
Great time. So thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to come back and chat.
Thanks for co-hosting this episode. We'll have you back on. And October Movie Fest. Enjoy Halloween. Enjoy your movies. Happy Halloween.
Woo!
Ta-ta.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I think that's it. I would stay and chat, but I do got to go get ready for that. So
no worries, man. I was going to say one last little thing. I forgot to mention. A lot of these movies, like it's hard to get scared at movies nowadays. I found like playing some of the video games, like in the middle of the night in the dark, is like way more scary than movies are now. Like
the most I've been scared, like actually ramped up, was playing this gun game that was for virtual reality.
Oh,
where you go
okay.
through like a horror house on like this track, and you just have two
Oh,
guns, and then like clowns come at you and shit, and you're in VR. So a giant spider comes down, it's like drooling on you. I'm
wow.
like, yeah, that's actually really fucking creepy.
A couple last little point, I'll let you go.
Mm.
A couple years ago, Guillermo was working on, he was gonna do a Silent Hill game. It didn't work out, but they did that demo. It was like PT or something. It was like fucking way scary.
Yeah.
And like it was just like a little demo, but like this lady would start following you around the house.
Mm.
I know I have to try to send you a video about that, but
Yeah,
anyway,
do it to it.
pretty cool. So
No, yeah, man. I've been worn down. Horror movies and comedies. I'm like, yeah, that's scary.
I
Yeah, that
know.
was funny.
Yeah, it's like what happened with hot sauces to me. I keep just upping the hot sauce, and I'm like,
Right.
this isn't hot anymore. What the fuck, you know?
Yeah. That's why the goth girl can spit on me now.
That's your hot sauce.
Yeah. So yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, cool,
All
man.
right.
This was a lot of fun. Great chatting with you. Hey, and awesome to hang out. And
Yeah.
yeah, I loved every second of it. Check out that Hexen movie. You'll fucking dig that, dude.
All right. We'll do that. We'll get on for some regular chit chat soon. I got our first Gamma Pod show on Saturday.
Did you guys find a drummer?
Sorta.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Like he's not like the main guy, and we've been pretty clear with him. It's like
Hmm.
he has a kid. He's a little bit older than us. Really busy dude, but he can drum.
That's good.
He doesn't really have a lot of time to invest writing or anything. So it's like these are the songs, learn them.
Yeah, you said your first real show on Saturday.
With this band, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's the first time either of these guys have played a show, so I'm kind of
Is
like
it,
Daddy Bear.
It's you, him, and Shockey, the three of
Yep.
you. Cool.
That's how I prefer it.
Well,
Fucking like any more than 3 people, shit just doesn't get done.
Well, at some point I'll have to come out and film you guys, do some shows. That'll be a lot of fun, and
Sure.
love to. Love that Hiss of the Goose. Great track.
Sure.
My
Seen the
favorite
video
song.
too, right?
Yeah, I fucking love it,
Yeah.
dude. I like when I just love videos that add like all these old clips and things. It's cool. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, thanks, man. Chat, just hit me up anytime. I always
Sounds good.
hang out. So
Yeah, might have to have you on for a movie commentary episode or movie drinking game if you're down.
yeah, man, I'd love to chat about some video games sometimes too, if you ever need some game stuff. But
I'm not big enough of a gamer to stretch it out, but maybe a regular episode hit all the different beats.
Yeah, I like how we got into some of the music elements of this time around. That was cool with the Dracula and The Shining and stuff. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah, man, a lot of fun. I got to watch some of these movies. It's been forever.
Do it to it, man.
Yeah, Ernest Scared Stupid, man. I haven't seen that in 20 years.
Yeah, I might do the drinking game with Neil and watch that one. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be fun, dude. If you ever want to like try to like do the Netflix like party watch or something, just get on and watch something. I love that you said Magic. That fucking awesome movie.
It was awesome. I showed that to everybody after I got home.
Yeah, dude. Good stuff. All right, man. Have fun. Thanks again. We'll chat soon.
See you, buddy.
See you, dude. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to The Jacob Wayne Show. If you would like to contact us, please write us at fogkoshka@gmail.com. That is FAKOSHKA@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Simply search The Jacob Wayne Show and it should pop right up. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Please write us. It helps add content to the show and makes the show even better for you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the Ghostbusters.
Bye.